We all have that one friend, the one who says exactly what's on their mind, no matter what. And that's Shital Mars.
That's right. Every week, my friends and I dive into whatever's on my mind: sports, politics, pop culture, even my own struggles, you name it. If I'm thinking about it, we're talking about it.
Unfiltered, unapologetic, and just a little dangerous. Get ready for the wild ride that is Shital Weapon. You've been warned.
Welcome, everybody, to another highly anticipated episode of Shital Weapon. Obviously, you have Lethal Shital and Biggie Trog here on the show. Oh, wait. Hold on. It's saying recording error. Hold on.
I'm not seeing an error over here.
No?
Yeah,
it's saying like mine says network connection lost.
It seems like it's okay.
Okay, I'm going to start over. All right. Welcome, everyone, to this hotly anticipated episode of Shital Weapon, because I know that our multitudinous numbers of listeners have been waiting desperately for what I'm going to say next. Yeah, I'm Lethal Shital. We have Biggie Trog, our favorite Trog of all the Trogs in the universe. And I will say, why I want to talk about a little bit of why there's been a bit of hesitance and delay. One, I went on vacation, so we'll talk about that a little bit. It's a weird time to integrate talking about vacation with the topic I want to talk about today, but a lot of this came about from the conversations I had while I was on vacation, and I really needed a vacation. I work a hell of a lot, probably way too much for my good or anyone's good. I don't spend enough time with my family. And then I go, oh, yeah, of course, let's pile on a podcast on top of this. Let's pile on all sorts of other stuff on top of this. And so I went on vacation and for my son's spring break, and it was a full week. By the way, don't do a cruise for a full week. It was a great cruise, but 7 days is a lot to be at sea. It's a lot. I was exhausted. I didn't unclench until Friday, the last day of the cruise, and we went to the beach, and I'm laying on the beach, and I finally felt myself sink into vacation mode. I'm like, ooh, this is nice. And then we got off the boat Saturday morning at 8 a.m. it was a short 18 hours of vacation mode, Shital. The give zero fucks, Shital. I got 18 hours of it. Came home and immediately cleaned my whole house for 36 hours. I spent the whole weekend before my work had to get started again and going back to school, doing all the laundry, mopping the floors, taking care of everything, and then right back into work mode. And then I was thinking about, okay, do I want to keep podcasting? Obviously I'm in the top 1% of podcasters having made it past 3 episodes. So, I have reached the upper echelons of success. There's nowhere up to go from here.
And we reached plural listeners at some point.
I know. It really is the bucket list is complete. I really feel like I need to be done here. But that wasn't the reason. I was thinking I was thinking about one. I've said an infinite number of stupid things on this show. It just you stop nodding. Mm-hmm. You were here. You didn't stop any of it.
That's asshole. Okay. I participated in saying it.
You didn't even stop me. You're like, hey, you're stupid. Stop it. This is really on you. Honestly, let me put this another way. This is really on you. You are responsible for the fact that I've been stupid.
And so I've said,
yeah, you should. You should own that. But I said so many stupid things, and I was talking to my family and giving the political climate, I actually had a weird thought. I'm like, oh crap. Should I keep doing this? Because if I say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing, it's not that I'll be embarrassed or that I could lose my job, and I can. Everything I say can and will be used against me. Like, people can hate me, people can find me, like, I could be harmed by saying anything. And if I say especially the wrong somethings, I can be hurt by it. But then the idea occurred to me that who else can be hurt by it? Is it my family? And part of it is like things I've said about me personally, which that's I'm kind of okay with, because at the end of the day, I love every one of my family, and I'm not perfect. My family's not perfect. We've done wonderful things for each other and terrible things to each other, yet we're still family and we're good with it. There's no animosity here, and we've worked through a lot of our issues, to the point that, like, we're so close. Like, my brother is here. We're so close. So us working through our personal stuff in a public forum hasn't hurt me, hasn't hurt us yet. And I don't think I've said anything that glaringly stupid about anybody I know. Not that I really even need to say anything bad about anybody I know, because everybody I know is pretty awesome. Like, I don't know that many bad people. But I was thinking more of it from a political climate of, what if I say the wrong thing? And we are children of immigrants. Not all of my
Mhm.
family are US citizens. All of them are legal. Let me put that out there. Every single one of them are legal uh, residents, permanent residents, green card holders, if they're not citizens or naturalized citizens or born here for that matter. Um, we're all legal. But in a world where that could not matter, what if I say the wrong thing and someone I love very dearly gets deported just by association with me? Like, is that, like, it's a scary, scary thought. And then I thought, I was on the boat and I thought, you know what? I really should be carrying my passport everywhere to prove my citizenship, because I didn't want to be caught being brown in the wrong place. In a place where you're not afforded due process. If everybody in the room is assumed to be illegal, it doesn't matter that I speak English. It doesn't matter that I don't speak Spanish. I like, donde está la biblioteca? That's all I know. And that's all I've got for anybody on the Spanish side. And that was absolutely atrocious and highly racist. I can't believe I even said that. But um, but it doesn't matter, because if I'm in the wrong place, and I do travel to hot button places, I go to Texas, I live in Florida, I go to, you know, red states across the country where very wonderful people live. Like, let's be very clear. It's not a knock against red states. My time in Texas has been awesome. My time in Florida, I love Florida. I live here. I'm not planning to move from here. There's great people all around me, and I love it here. But I know that, especially coming from India, especially being educated in history the way I am, because I love history. I've studied beyond just what school history is for all of my life. It is the story of humanity, and I'm fascinated by human psychology and human decision making, and have studied history beyond what is available in textbooks since I was a kid. And so, knowing history the way I do, knowing international relations the way I do, knowing international law the way I do, you start to see the warning signs, the red flags, the check engine light starts coming on. And I go, okay, if we're okay just picking up people and making assumptions and saying, okay, you can go to a detention center, you don't get a phone. Like, I probably would be released. They would figure out I'm a citizen eventually and release me. But how many days would I be there? Who would know that I'm gone? If I'm picked up in Dallas, let's say I go to a restaurant or a food truck thing or something, and there's a raid there, because there's the assumption that there are illegal aliens there, and everybody is brown gets put in a line, and to say, oh well, that won't happen, but that's how that works. When you do immigration raids, that's how that works. And you put your hands behind your back and or up on your head, and they line you up and they talk to you and ask you your name. And I have a weird name. Every day I meet someone new, they ask me where I'm from, and every day I want to go, bitch, I'm from here. Like, I live here. I was born here.
hmm
I know nothing but here. I'm American. I have no, and I'm not so naive to believe that any other country is better than America. I don't think America is particularly awful. All countries are awful. Every one of them has been complicit in some atrocity in some way and or another. I'm not naive. Like, this idea that there's some utopia out there in the world, and there just isn't. Everybody has a complicated history with humanity. Everybody has had slaves. Everybody has done some version of ethnic cleansing and massacres on their soil. And so, so the US does it. That's what it does. Like, okay. I can't live anywhere where, the painful past is not part of their story. And I think about, okay, I'm standing in this line, my hands behind my head. They ask me my name. My name is Shital. And I'm like, fuck. Okay, they automatically know or assume I'm not from here, right? I have a weird name. And now they start asking me for papers. And I thought, okay, well, if I carry my passport, then I could prove immediately that I'm a citizen, right? I have my passport. I can say, look at my purse. Here's my passport. And the thought occurred to me that in a world where due process is denied, in a world where you're rewarded for gathering up undesirable people, in a world where they could look me up and say I said something bad or something against this administration, a past administration, any administration, right? It's not really about who's in power, but I said something that someone doesn't like. And you don't have to prove that I'm a citizen. You don't have to prove that I'm not. All of a sudden, I'm put on a bus and they tell their superiors, she didn't have papers. They look at each other, and I've seen this. Two people looking at each other. There's proof in a bag. Hey, let me get my ID. Hey, let me get my license. And they say, I don't see a license. Do you see a license? No, I don't see a license. And now all of a sudden, now I don't have my passport. Now it's been confiscated. And I was thinking about that. I'm like, well, maybe I shouldn't carry my passport. Maybe it's more important that my husband knows where my passport is. In the case I am disappeared, he would have my passport and be able to find some attorney somewhere who could find me, find where I've been taken for however long I've been taken. If he even knows that I'm missing, right? Because if I'm traveling, he's pretty much used to that that I'm not on my phone all the time. And so if they take my phone and I don't get to call anyone and they've taken my passport and they ship me off somewhere, now I'm in a foreign country without my passport. So how do I get back? If I can get back. So it will require someone in the States with my documents to fight for me and advocate for me and ensure my safe return. And so I thought about, okay, well, if I can't carry my passport, maybe I carry my birth certificate. Well, my birth certificate has my maiden name, which is even more, you know, not from here than, than my current name. like, like my last name is Mars. I married into that last name. So my birth certificate and my passport won't match. My birth certificate is under my maiden name. And so if I show my birth certificate and my driver's license, those are going to be two different names. And so then they go, well, is this even the same person? Do we even know? And the answer is you could easily look me up. Like, I'm actually Googleable, which is stupid, but it's true. I'm Googleable. You could look me up. You know that I'm a citizen. They have facial recognition, which I thought was very interesting in airports and on the boat. When you give your driver's license, they use facial recognition to match your face to the driver's license and clear you. And your passport and your immigration status and all sorts of things pop up when they do use facial recognition. They've kind of linked all of these systems together. So I would hope that facial recognition would pop up somewhere in some detention center and it says citizen, right? Like no criminal history. I've never been arrested. I've never like not even accused of anything. And the worst I have is a speeding ticket. The worst is a civil thing. So the only reason I would be picked up would be by mistake or because someone didn't like something I said. And so I just thought about, okay, I need to really make sure that Bruce knows where my birth certificate is, where my marriage certificate is to prove we're married, and then where my passport is. In the very unlikely case, and let's say it's very unlikely, but the fact that it's unlikely, it does occur to me that it's not impossible now. It's just not impossible now. Mistakes are happening. They already are happening. And anybody can be caught in the wrong place at the wrong time and there's nothing you can do about it and no one cares. So I thought about all of that and making sure he knows, and he's looking at me like I'm stupid, going, "This is never going to happen. Don't worry about it. Sure, I know where your stuff is. It doesn't matter." And I do hope that this is not something that me or any of one of my family members ever has to deal with. But then I think about everybody who's not a citizen in my family should not leave the country. But then I also think they should absolutely leave the country. like like we're safe. We're safe. Do they leave the country and just not come back? Because if you leave for 6 months, you lose your green card status. Or do you not leave the country to secure your position within the states, but then run the risk of getting deported anyway to some place that isn't even home, right? Like it's not even like, oh, they send you back to India, where most of my family has not been in 20 years in any substantial way, like visits and vacations, but not living there in 20, 30 years. I mean, my parents have been here, what, 45 years?
Hmm.
Like they can't live in India. They're soft. They're they're not built for they're not built for the hard knock life of the Indian villages that they came from. At least not anymore. And so I'm thinking like, okay, what do we do? What is safe? Do I do I leave? Is there such a thing as leaving? People are like, oh, you don't like America, move. It's just like I don't, and they say it's just simple, just pack a bag and leave. I'm like, it's just not that simple. And where do you go? Like, do I go to Canada not taking any of us? Like nobody's taking any Americans. Um, I just I all of that came to my head and all of that stress came to my head and I go, okay, what's the right thing to do? And just trying to protect everybody I know and love. I just my thought process was I'm going to continue to live my life. I'm going to continue to travel. I'm going to continue to have my voter. What I came down to was my voter registration card. Like, see, I'm an eligible voter. Like, I registered, but it does say Democrat on it, which I, I actually need to change that registration to like unaffiliated. Like, I don't need like a star to be like on me. Um, but I was thinking about, okay, I'll carry my like oh, by the way, I was like I did go away from my voter registration card because that's what it says on it. Like shit, can't carry that. That's just asking to be detained. And I'm laughing, and it's a very uncomfortable laugh because it's not funny. It's just not funny. It's not good. It's not funny. I don't want this. I don't need this. Nobody needs this. This is stress that just nobody ever should have. And if you're a person caring about people, you like I don't know. Like, there are people out there that go, "Yeah, serves you right." Like they're happy that, people are scared and they're happy about people being told, "Hey, you have 30 days to pack up and leave." Like, great, get out of my country. Like I don't know why that brings certain people some amount of joy. I don't know why it brings them joy, but it does. And the only thing I can think of is that so many people are so convinced that people that don't look like you and don't talk like you and um, have less than you more often than not are the enemy. They're the reason that you're depressed, or they're the reason that you're struggling to find a job, or they're the reason that life is hard. And if you get rid of them, if you get rid of all the people that you believe make life hard, then life gets easy again. Then you remember a time when life was easier. And so if you get rid of everybody, then life gets easy again. And so that's the only thing I can think of for why we are here and why someone would be happy with a bunch of people being scared to be shipped off to some foreign country for the crime of daring to come here for a better life, whether legally or illegally, because it's not just illegals. Legal people are just being told, well, I don't like what you said, so I'm revoking your right to be here. And then deported, right? Like you're here illegally the minute they revoke your visa. They're here illegally the minute they revoke your green card. You don't even get a chance to fight it. You don't even get a chance to defend yourself. You don't even get a chance to say anything about it. So if any green card holder can have their green card just revoked because someone says, well, I don't like what you said, or I don't like what someone you're affiliated with said, and you must believe the same thing. Therefore, I can take your visa, pick you up wearing a mask, put you in a car, and take you somewhere where no one would ever know where you are. And no one can fight for you. That's the world we live in today. And it's scary. Like it doesn't need to be this way. And I run the great risk of saying it's just plain wrong. It's not about administrations. If any administration does this, everywhere around the world where this happens, and it happens under liberal, quote unquote progressive regimes, as well as conservative regimes, and it is equally wrong everywhere this happens. It's wrong in China, it's wrong in Russia, it's wrong anywhere this happens. And to say that it doesn't happen in Europe, or doesn't happen in Africa, doesn't happen in South America, doesn't happen anywhere else. No, it happens in lots of places. You would think that in industrialized nations it wouldn't happen, and there isn't a big record of it happening, in westernized nations, at least in modern times, since World War II. But it happens, and it shouldn't. And so that's where I'm at. And so I was really wrestling with picking the mic back up. And in this case, since you guys can't see me, the mic is on my head like I'm landing planes. Like I'm wearing a very like, hello, my name is Sandra and I'm with customer service microphone. Like this is the view. Um and I did get asked, they're like, are you nervous about being on camera because of everything that's happening and you don't want people to know what you look like? I'm like, one, I'm Googleable, so everybody knows what I look like. But no, most of it is because, you know, have, have you ever heard the saying, so and so has a face for radio? Like that's this doesn't belong in front of a camera with lights pointed at it. Like, this is a face for radio. We're gonna keep it behind behind this yellow banner. That's where we're gonna keep it. And also I'm very lazy, because if I knew I was in front of camera, now I gotta put on makeup. Now I gotta do my hair. Now I gotta like make an effort, and that's just not a thing I do. So that's 20 minutes of me talking about how nervous I am to be talking. So obviously I'm not that nervous because I won't shut up. But I did ultimately make the decision that I need to keep talking. Thoughts? And by the way, I'm springing this on my brother because I really did debate doing the show by myself from now on, so that like the stink of my stupidity doesn't attach to him. Like, oh, he would be unencumbered by my ridiculousness. But then it's me talking to myself, and that's just an exercise in psychopathy, I think.
Well, we've already seen what that looks like. It's not a pretty picture.
Exactly. It's as pretty as this face. Sorry. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, one could say you have a face for radio, and you have a voice for silent film.
That's right. Some people are meant to be seen and not heard, and I'm meant to be both. I'm not supposed to be
Exactly.
seen or heard. You're right. You know what? Touche. Which is why we only have 3/4 of a listener.
Man, that 3/4 though.
They're very valuable. Think about it.
They're almost a full person. They round up.
They do round up. Okay, that is basically like one. I was trying to go backwards now. It could be there's a petition to get this to stop, and then we would have negative listeners. But then I don't think anybody
But
cares
would
enough
that be
to
such
sign
a
a petition.
problem? Exactly. Well, so hearing all of this, because I just found out about this whole shenanigans, today. I can tell you though that this was something that I was worried about when we first started, but at the same time, I believe that people should be able to say what they want to say. As long as it's nothing insane, violent and whatever. Like, we have the First Amendment, we should be able to say what we want to say. But yeah, it is a concern. I have the concern even now. We talk about this regime or immigration deportation that's happening right now, but this is here. People can listen, people can comb through and find these recordings 10 years from now, 20 years from now. That type of thing has happened to people. And what about regimes that are far worse than this one? We like to think, okay, this is as bad as it gets, but it could get worse. And in those situations, should we have these recordings? Should we have people who can comb back through the history and then see what we believed and what we said and what should we? And the answer to that is yes, if we believe in what we're saying. If we're just saying this stuff for our 3/4 of a listener, well, no offense, but you're not a full person. You're not worth all of the things.
This is so bad already. I gotta get rid of the 3/4 of a person. We have a whole person. Every person is a whole person. There are no fractions of people. Jesus. Man, I just heard it. Damn it.
Exactly. Well, at least you didn't say 3/5.
Oh my God. You're right. By the way, I thought about it, and I did land on 3/4 for a reason. I'm like, then there was like 2/3. I'm like, no, it's 75%. And really, I thought about it in the context of how much of the show they could possibly get through. Like,
oh wait, you're assuming they get through 3/4.
Okay, so it's probably
of an
a
episode.
quarter.
even that is optimistic. I
It
would
really is.
venture to say then that we should be saying 3 seconds.
Oh, okay.
You say
One
hello
one
and
thousandth.
they cut off. Exactly. It's like, well, close.
That's right. They're like, ooh, I'm out.
They didn't.
I'm
They
done.
didn't even finish the word, right? It's like, welcome to the show. No, they don't finish the word.
No, no, you're right. You're right.
But like,
Okay.
because there are lots of podcasters and radio people, YouTubers, all the stuff who are doing it for the views and the listens. They're that's not what they actually think. It's not what they do in real life. None of it, right? And if that's the purpose, I would 100% say this is not worth the hassle. The danger of future problems, so we can appease like what, one, two people. I mean, that
Right.
doesn't make any sense.
Right.
But if but that was never what the purpose was, right? We don't care if we have listeners. We joke about our poor listeners all the time.
Yeah, this
You
is
know,
this is an
we
audio MySpace page for the
we as-
youngins. This
we
is
assault them constantly for daring to make us have to say the plural of the word listener. It's
yeah.
it's offensive to me, but it is what it is. And so to me, it's, look, if everybody stops saying things, if everybody shuts up, hides, we've seen that story in history. It didn't work. It doesn't work. And
Yeah.
yeah, will this have any influence? I mean, sure, probably not. But that's not the point. The point is, who is willing to keep speaking even when it gets dangerous?
Yeah. I I have a mantra that and you guys have heard me say it a lot. I do the best I can because it's the best I can do. It's not about the it's not about the results. It's not about the impact. This is not going to change the world. I don't change the world. I'm not going to change the world. And you guys, I remember my brother would laugh at me and go, "Why do you care about plastics?" Okay, so you stop using plastics, it doesn't change anything. It's not even a drop in a bucket. It's not even an atom in a bucket, right? Like your effort is absolutely meaningless in the grand scheme of things, right? So what that you try to do things ethically when the world around you doesn't? So what that you do the best job you can when everybody's giving their C effort? Like you're not going to change everybody else's behavior. And I remember looking at him, and I've said it a million times to him. I do the best I can do because it is the best I can do, regardless of whether anyone chooses to do it with me or not. I choose not to waste water. I choose not to waste electricity. I choose to try my best to reduce my plastic consumption. I try my best to eat healthy. I try my best to help support my child, his friends, his school, my friends. It doesn't matter that the rest of the world doesn't think those are worthwhile endeavors. I'm going to do them anyway because I can do that. I can do better. I don't have to, if everybody's using plastic straws, and I don't really need a plastic straw. It doesn't matter to me. I can reduce my usage of it. Have I not used a plastic straw in the No, I have. It's not about being perfect, but it's just doing the best I can in the moments that I can, and without judgment of other people and their efforts and without their judgment of mine. And when I think about doing this, part of it is it's a very selfish motivation to doing the show. It really is about me talking. It really is about me having an outlet to speak so that I'm not annoying to my friends and family who don't want to hear my shit. Like they're tired. They want to talk about like, the Final Four and Florida, the Gators are in the Final Four. That's important. That's what they want to talk about. So I need to get my bullshit out in some other way. So I'm not sitting here talking about this at home with them when they want to go to bed. Like they don't need to be bothered. So it's selfish for me to do this. It was always selfish. It's always self-motivating for me to do this. And so it's not about like, oh, I want to be a great person and that's what I want to do. This is an exercise in ego and stupidity and saying things that I want to say. Like I was even thinking like I did that politics episode. It was probably this is why I hate hot takes because a hot take is always provably stupid. Like when I did that, I'm like, oh, don't worry about it. It's gonna be fine. Let's just all get along. It wasn't so bad the first time. We all survived. Oh, yeah, okay. We have new fresh hells to explore. Like that's it can get worse. This is bad, and it can get worse. And it, okay, that was pretty dumb, and I probably need to go. Oh shit! How probably the full roster of episodes just should be deleted and scrapped for how stupid it was. Like I should just start over. But if I worry about that, honestly, it's like thinking I can't see the improvement. Each episode is bad and there's new levels of bad that I explore. And then this I do think I'm getting better. I think a lot of the ones that I'm doing are getting better, but it is serving a purpose for my own mental sanity. It's serving a purpose for my own personal well-being. And it is an outlet if someone is listening, you know, and you feel some sort of comfort in the things that I say, or you laugh at something stupid that I've said, well then at least I've brought joy to somebody or some sense of calm
Hmm.
or something. And that's a positive impact. Let's if I Even though this is a selfish endeavor, there is some good I can do with it. And then I thought, okay, I'll come back on and I'll do the best I can with it, as best I can to ride the fine line of being myself while also not being purposefully provocative for the sake of being provocative to just endanger everyone around me. Like I don't need to do that. I need to just talk, and I think I'm pretty innocuous if I look at the whole of it. And so today, in 30 minutes in, we're finally getting to the point of why I wanted to do today, which was to talk about the First Amendment. And we started off early about me knowing history, and probably not in a perfect sense. I'm not going to cite Supreme Court precedents and all of that, but I did do a lot of projects on the First Amendment because the First Amendment is one of the unique rights of the United States. The
Hmm.
First Amendment, the ability to speak. And I think what is happening today is there's some conflation of what the First Amendment actually protects, and there's some obfuscating of what it actually of the purpose it's intended to serve, and why it's so important. And this idea that it might be the First Amendment might be inconvenient. So now we get to say who gets access to it and who doesn't. So the First Amendment, the idea that the First Amendment is a right only afforded to bona fide citizens of this nation, I think is an improper reading of the Constitution. The First Amendment is afforded to everybody who steps foot on US soil. And yes, there are limitations. You cannot be violent with it. You can't, yell fire in a crowded theater. You can't say bomb on an airplane. You can't purposely freak people out knowing that the mere use of your speech will endanger lives. That is absolutely true. There is a reason why the restriction on First Amendment includes inciting a mob, right? I cannot
Hmm.
gather a group of people out in the square and say, let's go, you know, kill people. Let's go storm a school and terrorize people. Let's go endanger other people's lives. I cannot have that be. That is not protected speech. That is an act of violence, and as such, it is. It should be. And so the question is, and that's why we have the Supreme Court, and that's why we have interpretations of laws and interpretation of the Constitution of where is the line, right? So if I say that I am a proud KKK member, if I say that, is that protected free speech? The KKK is known historically for violence. It's known historically for racial violence. It's known for intimidation tactics. It's often been cited for racketeering and all sorts of other things. If I say I'm a proud member of the mafia, the mafia is a very dangerous, community. If I say I really, really, really don't like, I'm trying to find a clowns. Let me pick, because I don't want to pick real people. Like I really don't like clowns. Is that inciting violence against clowns? Saying that I really don't like clowns. And I would rather there not be clowns. Clowns freak me out. By the way, that's a true statement. Clowns just freak me out. But
That's right.
but is that violent incitement to say those things? Can I shout it? If I say I don't like clowns in the middle of a crowded street, is that violent incitement against clowns? It can be. It cannot be. So context really matters. The manner of presentation, like there are lots of people in the middle of Times Square holding up signs saying the end is coming. That is protected free speech. The end is coming means Armageddon and the annihilation of humanity, except for a few chosen that get to ascend to heaven. But it is mean death and destruction for everybody else. But that's protected speech, right? So is protests, and I think we have a proud history in the United States that protests are protected speech. And so, what's the difference between a protest and a riot and an insurrection? Right? Like if everybody marches down the street holding signs, and the inconvenience is traffic, right? And a lot of times, protests, if you're gonna derail the inner workings of a city, I think you have to get permits. You have to notify time and date of when you're going to march, and you have the right to peaceably assemble, and in some places you can congregate, in some places you can't. um okay, so that's protected speech. Now what does it turn to not protected speech? The minute I step foot off the protest field and walk into a store and take something that's not mine, the minute I walk off the protest field and kick over a trash can in an attempt to exact destruction or light something on fire or any of those things, shoot off a firearm, for example. I don't know that any of those are protected free speech and the right to peacefully, I'm saying peaceably, that's probably not even a word, peacefully assemble in the United States. Right? So, and then an insurrection is a government term. It is meant to prevent the proper working of your government, and it is almost like a coup, right? So is that protected speech? Not really. So like for example, if a member of the federal workforce were to do something to the inner workings of the government to prevent it from actually functioning in which it's legally obligated to do, is that protected free speech? No. So remember Edward Snowden saying, "Oh, the government is doing something which he deemed unethical or outright illegal," and he released it. And then he had to flee the country. And it was clear that his speech was not protected, right? His act of stealing quote unquote state secrets, or what was classified information, however warranted it might have been, was illegal. And they were searching for him for his arrest, and he had to flee to, ended up in Russia. This was a long time ago. So I think about where are the limits of free speech, but I also want to make the clarifying remark that the reason that we have the First Amendment, and it is the First Amendment. Let's not forget that it is the First Amendment. It is something the founding fathers deemed the most important. And if you're saying, oh, we can't rank the 10 amendments, it's the thing they came up with first. It's the thing they were
Hmm.
like, you know what? I really want to make this number one. It matters that it's number one. Um, just like most people would argue that the Second Amendment, it matters that it's number two. How important the founders thought it was to the foundation of the country. So if we say it's the First Amendment, the government shall not establish a religion. There is the right to freedom of the press. There is all of these rights, the right to vote, the right to have the right to peacefully assemble. The First Amendment is very, very broad in its protection. But the context I want to provide for it is the right to speak truth to power is the right. It is a restriction on our governments to not hold people accountable or not establish correct speech such that speaking is a criminal offense. It is a restriction on governments. People think free speech means I can go tell my boss that he's a cocksucker and I can go free speech and then he can't do anything to me, right? Like that's not free speech. Your boss is a private person. You're operating in a private institution. There are rules governing your conduct in this private place, and that guy can fire you or girl, whoever your boss is, or non-binary. Like, let me put it all there. Um, but they can fire you absolutely for coming into their office and yelling cocksucker and just like you're dismissed. Thank you very much. I don't need you. But even saying ridiculous things to your friends, your family, your friends and family don't have to talk to you if you're ridiculous. Your friends and family don't have to talk to you if you're annoying. It is a government restriction. The government cannot jail you for the things you say, especially when it's the government that doesn't like what you say. They can't do anything against you in that way, but as barring those certain limitations on your freedom of speech. And I think a lot of people forget that they think free speech is either universal or highly restricted. That you can say anyone to anybody, say anything to anyone at any time, and it is protected and no one can get mad about it. Or it is a right only afforded to speech that people like or can tolerate. And one of the things that I've noticed in this country is there's a weird dichotomy forming of who believes they are the power structure and who believes they are the ones speaking truth to power, who believes they are in the maligned condition. And I think that there's a group of people that believe that the progressives of our country, the others, right? The brown, the black, the Latin, the women, the gay, the transgender, the professors, the academic elites, the scientists, whatever, these upturned elitists of progressivism, they are the power structure. And they're the ones telling everybody, you suck, you're a racist, you're horrible, we're going to take over and we're going to take care of ourselves. And everybody who doesn't believe like us is going to be fucked. And so there's a group that looks at that and says, hey, no, we're now the rebels. We're now in the minority. We're now the ones that are oppressed. We are now the ones that need to be speaking truth to power. And the power they believe are a collection of minority groups that seem to have more power than they do and need to, hear what other people have to say and that their lives are just as valid as anybody else's life. And that's where that all life matter comes from. That's where the women are women comes from. That's where the men is men comes from, is they feel like this group that says, no, we're right about what is gender. We're right about what is race. We're right about what is sexual identity. And they're speaking down, and we're the power structure now. And so you're right. And I think they're right. They have the right to speak truth to power and speak it. Do they have the right to eliminate it? And that's where the answer is no. You don't have the right to eliminate. You can tell us we're wrong. You can tell me I'm wrong. You can tell me I don't like what you're saying, but you don't have the right to ask the government to come and arrest me for what I've said. Like,
Mhm.
that's just not how it works. And I think for people who are progressives and who are others and who are in that black, brown, everybody else community, women, and the list goes on and on, they would still say that we are not the power structure. We are highly underrepresented in the government, in Congress, on the Supreme Court, in the executive branch. We are highly underrepresented in municipal governments and state governments. We are highly underrepresented at the tops of leadership in all of the major Fortune 500 companies. We're not the ones dictating all of this. We're not the ones dictating the laws. We're not the ones that um, have control over everything. So we who are in this group, and I have to put me in there because I'm a brown lady, I have to sit in the other category. I don't have the power that people think I have. Just because I sound elitist or sound like I'm talking down to you, I actually don't have many rights or authority to dictate how the government works or who gets what. And at the end of the day, both of these sides that feel maligned and are looking back and forth at each other, thinking the other is the power structure and the other one isn't. The power structure is neither of us. There's a lot of money that's the power structure. And it is our ability, the freedom of speech protects our ability to speak to that. We think we're speaking to each other. We should be speaking up. And there's a lot of money that controls our government. There's a lot of money that controls our businesses and our commerce and our way of life. And if you think that it's me that's making your life miserable, it's probably not me. You may not like my social politics. And by the way, I have to have these social politics because it's what protects my right to exist too. Right? Like if I say I don't like it, well, then why should I even live? I don't have any validity as a person. So I have to have these social politics. My life, my existence is political. I think that people don't understand that we're pointing fingers at the wrong groups and we actually have somewhere else we need to be speaking to, and that we would be much more powerful and much more able of securing better lives, better quality of life for all of us if we were speaking truth to the power structure that actually exists and not the one we perceive exists. White people working a job in the middle of Alabama is not the power structure. It's just not, regardless of how they voted. They're not the powerful ones. They may want to, just like anybody wants to have their perspectives enacted in the government. But they're just as vulnerable to power as everybody else. And so we might be mad at the wrong people. And you can say, no, we're mad at the right people. But they're just as tricked as everybody else. Like this idea that billionaires are out here that are going to make a better life for them. They're not. They give less than two shits. They give zero shits. Like they couldn't even shit into a bag and hand it to you. That's how little shits they give about everybody else. They can't, this idea that, oh, if we just get rid of everybody we hate on either side, like if I get rid of um, anybody who disagrees with me, then all of a sudden my life is better. No, there's still a bunch of assholes that have all our money. Like, my life didn't get any better, actually got significantly harder, because a lot of stuff doesn't get done now with half a population. And I think that's the argument I would make to anybody going, well, no, they're illegal, so they don't have free speech rights. Or no, they're an immigrant, so they don't have free speech rights. If you can take it from, if you believe that the nature of their path to presence on this soil, on US ground, dictates whether they have access to rights or not, understand that at any point, at any time, someone can make up a reason why you don't have access to those same rights. If anyone can be disappeared, if anyone can be picked up on the street, put in a van, and shipped off to some site anywhere in the world without so much as a disclosure, and you go, well, they're illegal. Nobody had to prove that they were illegal. No jury, no documentation, no court, no judge was presented with evidence that they were illegal before they were put on the plane. Which means that at any point, let's say you're running out to the store, you grab your credit card, or you're running to, you're going for a jog, and all you have is your phone and your credit card, and someone stops you, puts you in handcuffs, and puts you in the car. That can happen. You go, oh, that can't happen to me. Yeah, absolutely, it can happen to you. If it's okay to do to someone who's illegal or perceived to be illegal, it's okay to do to you, because you can be perceived to be illegal at any time. And you will not have the right. And you go, well, they would know. I'll just give them my name. What if they don't care what your name is? What if they don't care who your parents are? What if they don't care where you live? Oh, they just don't want you. Someone calls you, someone who just doesn't like you. By the way, the Salem witch trials happen to be over property rights. And people say, oh, they killed witches. They killed women. They just killed girls.
Hmm.
And it was about property rights. Oh, I just don't like them. And you can call the government and say, I don't like them. Hey, did you know that so and so is this? So and so is a supporter of a terrorist organization. Did you know that? Oh, my neighbor, like, just out of because they want to. It doesn't matter that I could be picked up tomorrow just on the accusation that I'm a sympathizer of a terrorist organization, whether it's true or not. It's not true, by the way. Let me put that out there. Let me make that like the headline and the caption of this episode. Shital Mars is not a supporter of terrorist organizations. Like, I don't have any beliefs that violent retribution in any form or fashion is a way of securing political acceptance. It's not good. Don't do it. Like, I'm not in favor of violence of any kind. But if the accusation were to come, how would I prove it? How would I prove I'm not? And then there's that concept. You can't prove something didn't happen. You can only prove something did. So how do I prove I'm not something? And that was what, the Red Scare in the US, right? Like the McCarthy trials, McCarthyism of going, how do you prove you're not a communist? Let's drag everybody in here. Let's say if they had the wrong cup of coffee. Let's say that they were in within 10 feet of someone who was a communist or did write something that supported communism. All of those people would be dragged in, their lives turned upside down, their jobs put in jeopardy. Many people were fired. Like, think about even Japanese internment. It was just the perception that the Japanese were sympathizers of Pearl Harbor. They believed in it just because they were Japanese. Their land stripped from them and then shipped to a camp during World War II. Like, what I find ironic is during World War II, when we were working to liberate Germany from being ethnically cleansed, we were going, hey, you know what sounds good? Let's put the Japanese in concentration camps. Like, no, Germany can't do it to the Jews, but we certainly can do it to the Japanese. And only found the foolishness of our ways after the war was over and released everybody. But the damage was done at that point. I worry about the levels of justification, the twisting of a pretzel to find ways to justify what's happening. And there's too many people, like even watching CNN or even Fox News or even places where we think are liberal media, and you listen to people going, well, no, that's okay because they're illegal. That's okay because they're violent criminals. The due process in the First Amendment was specifically designed for people we don't like, specifically designed for that. It is not designed for everybody to say, I really love rainbows and butterflies and bunnies. Like, it's not designed for, oh, aren't puppies cute? Like, it's saying what people like. And by the way, I can't imagine someone not believing that puppies are cute. Like, puppies are cute. But if there is somebody who doesn't believe that, free speech exists for you too, man. You could be like, fuck those puppies. like that's you're entitled to that. Like, well, do you, boo?
When your anti-puppy regime.
Like, that's what free speech is for. I don't want to be in the pro puppy mafia, just taking away the rights of these anti puppy protesters. They have the right to peacefully say they hate puppies. They really do. Like, that's what I find. And like the few people where their student visas are being revoked, their green cards are being revoked, just no, I don't like that what you said. I don't like an article you wrote. I don't like anything. You don't have to prove that they were a danger to the United States. The government doesn't have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt in a court of law that so and so is dangerous and deserving of deportation. I just have to take their word for it.
Well, one thing that's interesting is at the end of the day, the Constitution is just a piece of paper. It only has value if it's agreed upon and enacted in that way, where people will say, okay, I believe in these principles. If everybody decides that they just don't like this, then what? Oh, well, this is how the First Amendment really goes. Then what?
That's the scary thing, is that, again, we're looking, and not again, I don't know if I even said this before, but if I'm a person and I look at it and I go, the First Amendment is actually a big hindrance to the world view, to my worldview. It's really inconvenient. Due process is really inconvenient. Equal protection under the law is really inconvenient. The separation of powers in the government is really inconvenient to the worldview that I have. At a certain point, you have to say, if you're a patriot and you love America, you have to ask yourself the question, what about America do you actually love? You can't love America. You love it so much that you have to destroy everything it has always stood for. And by the way, it stands for atrocity, and it stands for slavery, and it stands for bombing brown people in the Middle East. Like, it stands for coups in South America. It stands for a lot of things. Like, it's a very complicated history. The United States is, and I don't want to say bad, because again, that's relative. I don't know another country that hasn't done any of those things. And today many countries are doing those things. So again, it's not like, oh, America is bad. But America is not perfect and has never been perfect. It is in search of a more perfect union. That was the point of it. Like, written in our founding documents, in search of a more perfect union, in furtherance of a more perfect union. That the work is ever evolving, the work continues forever and ever and ever. And that the goal should be more equality spread amongst the people. The people should be more and more and more equal as the country evolves. That's the point to me of America. A weird experiment in it's like we are the embodiment of the real world. Seven strangers packed in a house. Will they get along? Like, this is what happens. Like, this is what happens. It's a 250-year-old experiment of putting a whole bunch of strangers of diverse backgrounds and seeing what kind of powder keg drama bullshit explodes within it. And honestly, there's been a lot of drama. There's been a lot of
Mhm.
joy too. Like, the idea that this is a failed experiment, that the mixing and melding of different cultures has been a bad thing. And I pose the question, and I wish I could talk to someone who is not a Trump, because it's not about being a Trump supporter. Because I don't know that this is about all of that. I don't know if it's about specifically the politics of being Republican or being conservative. But if you are a person who believes that the world was better when it was less different, like believes that, all these other people ruining everything, it was simpler, it was easier to understand, it was easier to navigate, it was better. And if I pose the question to someone like that who wishes it would go back to where a perceived homogenous society, where everybody looked the same, everybody wanted the same, everybody had white picket fences, everybody went to their jobs, everybody came home from work, everybody played outside, and it was great and it was peaceful, and we didn't talk politics and we didn't care about these things. We had dinner parties and potlucks, right? Like, this time in your life where you remember it being simple and you want to go back there. And I ask people to, if I ask someone like that, once you've gotten rid of everybody you don't want to be here, the job of removing everybody that annoys you, and you have the homogenous society that you dream of. And by the way, if this sounds eerily similar, like what occurred in Germany in the 30s and in the 40s, that's because it is. But if you had that, if you were successful, what next? What does the world look like? What does your United States look like? What can you do then that you can't do now? And the need to do this thing, the need to have whatever it is that you want to have, is so imperative that it necessitates removal and harm to millions of people. Because it's not thousands of people, it's not tens of people. Your life necessitates the harm of millions of people because it doesn't stop at illegal Latins. Because it's not even about illegal like we're arresting Canadians, for God's sakes. We're preventing entry to the French. We're it's Muslims, it's Latins, it's black people, it's Africans, it's not just illegal Mexican immigrants. It's not illegal Venezuelan immigrants. It's not illegal gang members that we're talking about here. It has to extend it. You go to the gang members, and then you go to the regular peaceful people who are here illegally, then you go to the visa holders who have overstayed their welcome, you go to the people who are visa holders who are legal, who say something you don't like, and then you have to go to the people who are green card holders who say something you don't like. Like, the list never ends, and eventually there will be citizens you don't like. Like, you got to get rid of a lot of people to have the kind of peace you're searching for. But what is it that you want in that life? And why is it you believe you cannot have it with all of these people around? Like, if we were neighbors, why can't you have a great life and still live next to me? Like, that's what I don't understand. And I don't know what the answer for most people is of, okay, and then what? It's all well and good. Okay, I'll feel really good once everybody's gone. But why will you feel good when everybody's gone? Once 11 million undocumented, let's start with that. 11 million, 12 million undocumented immigrants are gone. Once they're gone, what does the US look like and why is it better? Why is that better for you? Why does that make your life easier? Why does it make it happier, more prosperous? And I don't know that I've ever heard an answer of why. I don't know. Have you?
No, I mean, the only thing that has ever really been said goes back to the argument of, well, you know, violent criminals, whatever, will be safer. Um, Aside from that, I mean, those who are here illegally don't have money. Like, they're not wealthy. They don't have a bunch of stuff. Like, getting rid of them isn't going to get any gain. And so, no, like, there has never really been an answer outside of, like, well, it's the principle of the thing. They're illegal and we shouldn't support, illegal things. But, what is the definition of illegal? It's something we decided. We decided, well, if you don't go through this exact process, then you're here illegally. We don't like you. Then what? We get rid of them, and as you're saying, then what? Well, the progression of things is, to answer your question, just the immediate thought for me about, why can't they be happy, living next to you? Well, they would say, because you have one of our houses. Get you out of that house, and one of us will have it. And okay, that's that is an approach that can be taken, but okay, you get everybody who does have any kind of wealth, any kind of property, you get rid of them. Then what? When does it end? And how do you decide this is the line we'll draw? We won't get rid of anybody after this. And the thing is, we forget how this country even formed into a melting pot in the first place. Way back in the day, the British colonies, the melting pot was religious freedom. People who were fleeing Britain because they wanted to be able to practice the religion that they wanted. They were all British. They were the same race, right? But they believed in different things. Okay. Then later on, oh, now there's French people, Spanish people, German people. Oh no, immigrants from Europe, but they're all white. But
I
we've
mean, by
seen
the
the
way,
history
we're
in Europe.
ignoring the slaves they brought with them, but or the
Well, sure,
natives that lived here, but let's just keep going.
sure.
I get your
Of
point.
course we're gonna, because they don't count.
Three
Again, they were
fifths.
slaves, exactly. But no, so like, okay, you have a bunch of Europeans fleeing from other countries to come here. That was not met with open arms when they came in here. The Italians, the Irish, this was not a
Yeah.
thing. And so on and on, throughout the history of the country, more and more countries got opened up in terms of who wanted to be here. And the melting pot just kept getting bigger and bigger. But if we go backward, what's the decade we want to go to? Only British people? How do you even decide that anymore? Up, you have some amount of German in you. You've got to go. We think that could never happen. But again, the Japanese internment camps, well, what if we get upset with Germany again? We will find your German heritage somewhere and round you up.
By the way, 23andMe has your German heritage. Like
Mm-hmm.
if we pick people based on heritage and DNA, we can. There's so many people that gave their DNA willingly to a company, and if I
Mm-hmm.
want to go and pick out who has the good genetics and who doesn't, there's
Mm-hmm.
now a database.
Yes. And there is no way to say, oh, no, 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 but we wouldn't go there, right? Why not?
And that's the thing, is that we wouldn't go there. I don't think Germans thought they would go there either. I
Yeah.
don't think I don't think the citizens of Rwanda thought they would go there either. I don't think that the citizens of Cambodia thought they would go there either. I don't think that most countries where this is where this it's being very presumptuous because we're on the path of it. It's very obvious we're on the path of it. If you know anything about, authoritarian marches, like the authoritarian takeovers, it's literally a play of everything that you think of when you think of Mussolini, and it's just the same. You see all the same tactics. So there's a reason why everybody's sounding the fascist warning sign. But again, a lot of people in this country don't know what fascism is and don't know why it's bad. Especially if you believe you're on the side of the fascist, it must be good for you, because this is fascism, or being against. I'm not the other. I'm not the one that did anything wrong. It won't come to me. And there's so many books about this, like For Whom the Bell Tolls, it tolls for thee. Like there are the poems that talks about,
Mhm.
first they came for the lawyers, first they came for the judges, then they came for the doctors and the teachers, and they came for the gays, and then they came for, the gypsies, and then they came for um the others, and then they came for the Jews, and then they came for me. And there was no one left to prevent them. There was no one left to fight for me, and I didn't fight for any of those because they weren't me. We have literal poetry, like we have so much
Right.
writing, so much warning material to see the warning signs of what could happen if we leave it unchecked, if we leave it the way it is.
And
That
we can't
And by
just
the way,
wait.
this is not conservatism. This
Yeah.
is not republicanism. This is not what America has founded on. This is not about politics or party. This is about authoritarianism taking over. This is about technocracy taking over. That this is not America, and anybody left or right. If you are conservative and an originalist, you have to look at this, and this should be scary. If you
W-
are a progressive and you believe in a living, breathing constitution, this should be scary. This is not about left or right. This is not about any of that. This is about whether this is right or wrong for America. And it fundamentally is the wrong path. And we have plenty of documentation evidence across centuries of similar things happening that it is the wrong path.
But we also have evidence in our own country's history going back, because, as I was mentioning all those European countries and their immigrants, you said, oh, well, let's ignore all the slaves and all the, those types of people. I ignored the Native Americans. Andrew Jackson was rounding them up, shipping them off
Manifest
to
destiny.
wherever. Yeah, but here's the scary thing about this. We don't even have to go and make it all the way to 100% full authoritarian before it becomes a problem. So Andrew Jackson, the Supreme Court said this is unconstitutional. This is not appropriate behavior to do to them. His response was, enforce it. You're just a bunch of people in robes sitting in a room making it, saying whatever. How are you going to make me? What do you
Right.
do then?
And
What do
by
you
the way,
if
that's what's happening now. Make me.
Yeah, how can you
I,
make them? Who's got the power in terms of actual military to make them?
right. The executive branch controls the military and controls law enforcement. So, does a judge have the command of law enforcement to enforce its ruling? That's the problem. The answer is
Oh,
no. And for decades and centuries, we kind of adhered to precedent. We kind of adhere to a judge's ruling, even though we don't like it. By the
yeah.
way, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. So if this means that the Supreme Court says, or any judge says, abortion is illegal, fuck you, dude. It's like, if anybody can start ignoring a judge's rule, if the government can ignore judges, everybody can ignore judges. I don't believe
Mhm.
in your ruling. And so if you don't believe in courts and judges, you don't believe in rule of law, you start believing that anybody can do anything. And you say this
Mhm.
wouldn't happen. It's slippery slope. You're being dramatic. But we have proof in history that it has happened. It was just as dramatic and crazy then. And so it's just as dramatic and crazy now. Like, it has happened, which means it can happen again. And we're here and we see the warning signs. And so the question is, what do we do? And I was telling you earlier, I was nervous about doing this show. I'm nervous about what I'm saying now. But I saw something that said, whatever you're doing now is what you would have done then. Whatever it is what you would have done then. And I have to think of myself of, would I have stood for it then? If I do nothing now, that means I would have done nothing then. And not that this is
Mhm.
meaningful, not that the show is important, and it's not, but I have to believe I would have done something. I have
But
to
let me
believe
tell
I'm
you.
the kind of person that would have done something.
But here's the interesting thing: is because it's not about the show, and it's certainly not about how many listeners we have, or if we have negative listeners. It is about the example you set. You know, Ryan is just a kid, but what example is he going to see that we should run, we should hide, we should give way to power? Then what?
Right.
Is that an example we want to make? That has
And I
some
think
level of
about that.
influence.
If down the road he goes, "Mommy, what was your position here? What was happening? You lived through it." And, like, I hope it all ends up for naught. It all ends up for nothing. It's all a bunch of hullabaloo, and it all blows over, and we all make our way to a better, more prosperous land for us all. Like, that's the best case scenario, right? I hope that there's nothing here. But I have to believe that if it does go more towards the worst case scenario or the worser case scenarios, that would I have done something? Would I have done anything? Could I have done something? Could I have spoke out? Would I have stood in the way of somebody? If in the line to be shot, would I have stepped out of line? Would I have put myself to protect somebody else at great personal risk? Would I have? And if I do nothing now, then I wouldn't have. And I have to wrestle with
Mhm.
that with my conscience. And I have to wrestle with the idea that I would be just as much of a coward then as I am now. And I don't want to be a coward. I don't want to be afraid. I don't want to not speak, even if I know that it's dangerous and I have to do my best to protect my family, but I still have to say something. And I said something to you earlier is like, I look around and I go, with all the justifications, like, they're animals and they're criminals and they're this and they're that. And I have to wonder if there are people in my community, if this were 1933 Germany, if this were 1939 Germany, and you had the choice to hide Anne Frank, how many people do I know that would have not only not hit her, but would have called the cops on them? Like,
Mhm.
who would have done it? Because it was not legal to hide her. And I really, 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 really want to believe I would have hit her. I would have hid that family. And because it was the right thing to do, regardless of whether it was the legal thing to do. And I can't say that and believe that if I'm unwilling to do something now, if I'm unwilling to speak now. And so that's where I'm at, and that's where my head's at. And so the show will continue. Hopefully not as seriously as this episode has been, but hopefully it will continue and I can say silly things and I can say asinine things, and I can make mistakes, and I can be offensive, and I can be abnormal to the greatest extent of my abnormality, and it will be okay. And I will continue and do it in spite of people going, hey, maybe you should shut up. Because I think a lot of people do really want me to shut up, and not because of politics. It's just because I'm annoying.
Well, yeah, a lot of people may say, "Oh, you're overreacting." We're not anywhere close to that. And I can't even say that that's not necessarily true because again, 1933 Germany was not close to 1939 Germany. There was a lot of extra steps that needed to be taken. But the only thing that actually prevents those extra steps from happening is people continuing to say, "No, this is not okay. We're not going to do that next step." Because it is by the slow and steady steps towards that path that we get there, right? It's not like, oh, in 1930 Germany, they just came out and said, I have a great idea. We're going to, perform a Holocaust. That was not on the ballot
Yes.
in that, right? Like they didn't, oh, yeah, this is exactly what we want.
And for
We're
the
going to start a
longest
world
time,
war.
even Hitler didn't want it known that that's what they were doing.
Exactly. Right? So that it's important to understand that it's a slippery slope. It's one step at a time. It's up, I'm okay with that person being taken. Oh, yeah, I can live with that other person being taken. One at a time. In that poem you mentioned, right? For whom the bell tolls.
I don't
It's
even know that that's the
one
name
by
of
one.
the poem.
Whatever it is.
That's
You should look it up.
I'm
But
looking it
what
up right now.
point is, one by one. It's step by step. And at some point, people need to be there to say no. That we see how this could go, and we don't want it to go there.
Yeah, that's not the poem, but it's a book, but it is about 1940s, and it is about war, and probably referencing the wrong things, but I
It
know
is
what
what
a
it is.
yeah.
I've heard that story too, be it in a book or whatever it is. But the point is, we have to stop at some point and say, this is as far as we're willing to go. We can go no further, even if we've already gone too far, right? But we cannot go any further than this. We need to stop, and then we can discuss: do we need to go backward? Fix whatever it is we're doing. But if nobody's willing to stop what we're doing, nobody's willing to say that they disagree with what we're doing, well, then it just keeps going in this loop of insanity, of like-minded people talking to like-minded people, telling them how great they are, how right they are. And year by year, that feedback loop gets us to a crazier place.
Well, and that will be, I think that's a topic for a future conversation, that we are inundated with media that is designed to reinforce our biases, inundated with media that is designed to make us outraged constantly. And it reminds me of something that I actually use on a day-to-day basis. And of course, this is the algorithm showed it to me, but it said something like, um, if you feel like everyone hates you, go to sleep. If you feel like you hate everyone, eat something. If you feel like you hate yourself, take a shower. And if you feel like everyone hates everyone, go outside. And if I was going to tell everybody, because it feels like everyone hates everyone, for God fucking sakes, we all need to fucking go outside. Like,
Mhm.
we all need to go outside. We all need to experience birds chirping and the sense of flowers blooming. It is spring. It is time to go outside. Like, this much vitriol, spending all this time on Zoom meetings and in houses and away from other people. We all need to go outside. That Gen Z mantra of we need to touch grass. If ever there was a time that humanity need to walk outside and touch some goddamn grass, it is now. Like, we need to touch some grass.
Isn't that used as a negative though?
Well, it's meant for like people that are so obsessed and like they've made some facet of some controversy their whole personality. Like they're like, go touch grass, boomer. What that means is like you need to go outside. Like you need to recognize there's a bigger picture here. Like being this wound up over something isn't necessary.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what it means. Is like, yes, it is a negative. It is picking fun at people, but as a humanity in the U.S., we probably all need to go outside and take a deep breath and recognize that the what you think is the problem is probably not the problem, and there are ways to have a good life without having to hurt anybody.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Well,
like that idea.
the best life really comes when we help each other.
Yeah,
We're supposed to be a community.
and I'm gonna say this. So this is everybody needs to go outside, and then the other one was like, well, if you feel like you hate everybody, you need to eat something. Could all of this become? Is fascism a side effect of Ozempic? Is
Hey, you mentioned them hot takes.
Well, I had to make a joke somewhere in here. This is heavy, man. I mean, but I mean,
calling out that Ozempic, man.
We have an entire society of rich, hungry people. None of them are eating.
But you realize that you wanted the Ozempic yourself. So let me tell
Okay.
you were spared
I
from your
dodged that bullet.
fascist future, right? Like you were on a path to becoming a dictator.
Yeah, I'm wondering.
Can't believe you would go that way.
Does Elon Musk need a Snickers?
He may be hungry.
Oh. What did you last hear?
Does Elon Musk need to eat a Snickers?
Yes, I didn't hear you because it cut out on me. So, what did you say?
I was just saying maybe he may be hungry like that. I get
You're not
agitated
yourself
when
when
I'm
you're
hungry.
hungry. This is not a
Yes.
plug for Snickers, but man, you're not yourself when you're hungry. And he openly admitted he was on Wegovy for a hot minute.
Mm. Mm.
Like, I wonder if
Possible.
the price of skinny is hating everybody. Like, think about it.
I could
Think
see
of
it.
it
Yeah, I
like
can see it.
a lot of people who have money and aren't eating and are very hungry. They're some of the most hateful people on the planet. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
like
It's
they
true.
all just need a sandwich. I think when we're feeding the hungry, it needs to include people on Ozempic. Like the foreign aid, we stopped the foreign aid. The people in the Sudan and Ethiopia, those little kids who are hungry, they should be fed. But we need to reserve a little bit to send a chicken Caesar salad to Tesla. Like we just need
It could make
everybody.
all the difference.
You know what we need in America? A picnic. We need to go outside and we need to eat
Yeah.
something. Everybody
I
needs to go
definitely think that could
outside
work.
and we need to eat something. And that would solve all the world's problems, I think. We're just
I think so.
hungry. And
Yeah.
that's my hot take. To end like one of the heaviest conversations we have is
I
God
love
damn
it.
that Ozempic. It's the Ozempic-induced fashion.
Can't believe it. Yeah, I should have seen it coming. You know, that was it. We didn't stop it. You know, Ozempic came out, and we just let it be.
We
We
did.
should have seen this.
We should have seen it coming.
Yeah.
We really did. We were all worried about Ozempic face and Ozempic finger. And poor Ozempic. Like, they're going to get a bad rap now. It's just like Peloton killing Mr. Big. Like, this is it.
You know, I'll say it this way. You know, that Ozempic, it's 1932 Germany.
That really is. If we go back in time, I would like to see, was everybody on the paleo diet before 1933? That's a good sociological experiment. Are all genocidal rages preceded by, anorexia? Like, I don't know.
Well, actually,
By the way, they would say
funny?
it's famine-induced fashion, but it is. It's poverty.
Yeah. They were
That's
hungry.
true. Like, being hungry makes you pretty angry. And so we have a lot of hungry people in this country. And so if we really want to end our civil discourse, our uncivil discourse, whenever we're shouting at each other, we should really be doing it with bread. Bread makes people happy. And happy people just don't kill their husbands.
Exactly.
Good times. So I don't know what we achieved in this episode other than that I will continue to inflict my lethal sheathalness upon the world. Sheathal Weapon will continue
wait.
with more episodes.
Hold on. What do you mean you don't know what you achieved in this episode? We solved the problem.
This is
okay.
True.
We found the answer.
World peace is at hand.
All right, Ozempic. How dare you?
Okay. You know who would get on board with this? Robert F. Kennedy.
Oh, geez. Probably.
I need to write a letter, a strongly worded letter.
We have the answer.
It is the chemicals we are putting in our body, i.e., Ozempic. We should all just go back to being fat, because being fat makes us less fascist.
And see, if you had given up this episode and your podcast, we wouldn't have arrived here. We wouldn't have solved fascism.
This is true.
Okay?
We
can just put a check mark on that. Let's get to curing cancer tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so let's do it. The next episode, we will just solve all of the world's problems.
Exactly.
And don't get mad if I probably think that it all involves Ozempic.
Well, come on.
Why am I so mad at Ozempic? I wanted to be skinny too. This is true. By the way, if you're hungry and you're on Ozempic, aren't you less hungry? I need to be punched. This is why I need to be punched. This is why this should probably stop right here.
That's why the hot takes are great.
Oh my god. This needs to be done. I can't say any more dumb things. This was so good up until the end.
You could. You just shouldn't.
All right. This concludes. I'm going to be making it official. This concludes this episode of Sheathal Weapon. I'm Lethal Sheathal. This is Biggie Trog. And if you liked this episode, you have, questionable taste and you really need to see someone about that. But I hope to see you again real soon. Or, no, not see you because you can't see me. I can't see you. I hope to know that you exist real soon. Thanks for hanging out with us today. If you love this episode, or if you at least didn't hate it, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss what's coming next. And hey, share it with your friends, share it with your family. Until next time, stay bold, stay real, peace out, deuces, and keep speaking your mind. See you soon.